2, 1.
To pursue science is not to disparage the things of the spirit. In fact, to pursue science rightly is to furnish the framework on which the spirit may rise.
Welcome to the Endless Frontiers, your home for all things science, fiction, and science fiction. I'm your host, Jed Morgan, and welcome into another Right or Flight podcast. This is episode 36. I can't believe we've been going strong for 36 weeks in a row, keeping this Monday time slot for the majority of them and having a hell of a great time with all of them. And that is all because of you fine people in the chat. So I just want to say hail and thank you to all of you joining me this evening. It looks like Legatus Legionus, the Mod Supreme, is already doing the Lord's work on both YouTube and Kick. It's great to have you here, my friend. And Algrim the Strong is here saying, highest heralding, O thou Redeemer of Edred Dyer. That's a great name. I'm okay with that one. That is one that I could see myself sticking with. Great to have you here, Algrim. And Dash is here as well, saying 3, 2, 1, liftoff. Liftoff indeed. There was something related to a liftoff, or at least a rocket, that I'm very excited to talk about today because it's fascinating. And if I can do it right, I have a plan for something that I can do related to this rocket news that if I can pull it off, if I can get everything lined up at the perfect moment with the perfect settings on all my equipment, I could prove man's influence on space. It's never going to convince these flat earthers or these moon landing deniers or these, the earth is a dome ceiling, the firmament believers and stuff like that, but I will have empirical proof that I gathered myself that proves that humanity was able to make it to space. It's going to be incredibly difficult. My equipment is not attuned to something like this properly. At least I don't have good enough equipment, so it's going to be really, really tough, but I'll talk about that when we get to that piece of news. Looks like Ginger Norseman is here as well, saying good evening, folks. Good evening, Ginger Norseman. I hope you're doing well on your side of the world. It's probably very late for you, so I always appreciate it when you stop by. But yeah, I hope everyone's having a fine Monday evening. I had to go to the dentist today. It's the first time I've gone in a while. I know I've been lapsed. I know they were going to judge me for not flossing properly. They were going to stab my gums and be like, "Hey, you're bleeding. How dare you bleed when I stab you?" And all the, the normal hoops you got to jump through. But it was worse than I expected. No, I didn't have to have any fillings done or anything like that. We're going to schedule that later if the need arises. The problem is They changed how you do x-rays, at least from the last time that I went. The last time I went, there was just this little machine that you'd walk into, put your chin down on it, bite down on something, and they'd scan your whole jaw all at once, and that was great. Well, that doesn't get an x-ray of the inside of your mouth, at least to the degree that they want, I guess. So there's this weird arm above the dental chair that they can manipulate the x-ray camera. They don't give you the vest anymore, the iron vest, and they don't hide from it anymore. So it is more sophisticated. The technology is better. The problem is the new mouth guard that they gave to block the X-rays to prevent them from going deeper in the mouth, so they only see what they need to see in the image, is weirdly shaped. It's connected to a power cord now, and it's connected to a long metal pipe with a bunch of rings on it that the arms and the x-ray camera's end shoves into. So you're holding all this up with your bite strength alone. I don't know if my mouth was irregularly shaped. I don't know if it wasn't what they were expecting, or this technician had never seen the inside of a human mouth before. But every time she said to bite down, that thing was in such a bad position that it physically hurt, or I was unable to close my mouth fully. I bled from that way more than them stabbing me in the gums. Legitimately, it was tearing up both the top and bottom of my mouth as they went across. It was wild. I was not expecting the X-ways to be the worst part of a dental visit. That's usually the okay stuff. You're if you're one of those people who are afraid of the dentist, which I've never really been, you have that moment of trepidation, but the X-rays help ease you into it. Gets this clinical feel. These people who are being confident around you clearly know what they're talking about, and it eases you into that environment that you're not comfortable with. Yeah, no, they did the X-rays at the end for me, and the x-rays were the worst part. It was wild. I was not expecting any of that. Doesn't help encourage me to go on the yearly basis that they want me to go in. Definitely doesn't encourage that. I see you guys are chatting about it. Legata says, well, of course the earth ain't flat. It has hills and mountains and valleys. Yeah, that's pretty good evidence for people that it's not completely flat. That's gonna be a good comeback. I'm gonna have to remember that just to make the flat earther falter a little bit. That would be fantastic. And Ginger Norseman's laughing at Legatus. Dasha, they only treat gingers that way. Otherwise, dentists are the nicest people. Is that what it is? Is there some hair bias going on in the dentist cabal? Are we going to have to find out that they've been discriminating this whole time? Ginger Norseman, you and I need to do some deep dive research, see if this is a thing, see if we can bring a class action discrimination lawsuit against the dentist cabals of the world. See if we can make some money. I've seen all these people get discrimination lawsuits making bank over the years. So I'm sure we can make it happen. It's about time gingers get some recognition. All right, it's time that we're recognized as a minority too. All right, we're told that we're black. They tell me that all the time that I'm black. Where are my benefits? I haven't received the cards in the mail, my passes in the mail. I haven't gotten my minority checklist. I haven't gotten special access to anything. It's high time that gingers get the respect and the special treatment that we know we deserve. Algrim says there's always a dental hotspot with those damn mouth guards. Holy crap! Are you saying that some are actually hot in your mouth? I haven't experienced that. Yeah, they want me to get braces too. Like, have you ever had braces? I'm like, no, I've been to the dentist, plenty of times in my life, and they've never suggested. Since I was a kid, there was a little bit of something before my adult teeth came in. But once my adult teeth came in, they're like, yeah, you don't need braces. You're all good. You're all good. But they're looking at me and they're like, yeah, your bottom front teeth, they're supposed to be like this, and they're like this. And I showed it to my wife afterwards, Rachel, when I got home. And it's like, yeah, they're saying my front teeth are like this. And she's looking and is like, they might be like that. What the hell are they talking about? So yeah, when I said I'm not really interested in braces, they're like, well, you could do Invisalign. It's like, yeah, I'll spend 5 grand on something that doesn't look like I need. So yeah, they were wonderful people. Everyone was really nice, not degrading them or their service in any way. It was just not an experience that I think went as well as it could have. Judges do not accept ginger lawsuits, Dash. See, more discrimination. Another lawsuit that we can bring against them. We just got to find one judge to wipe them all out. That's all we need. Algorithm, the hotspot is where the mouth guard presses against the gums. Okay. There's just that one area where it doesn't fit in right. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I've been lucky that I haven't needed a whole lot of dental treatment throughout my life. Growing up, I had some cavities. It was nothing too crazy, unlike my siblings who never had cavities. So, I guess I was the problem child when it came to dentistry. But yeah, to suddenly hear that you need braces, I haven't even need to have my wisdom teeth out. They even checked it this time and they're like, "Yeah, you're good." I don't need braces, man. I'm too old. I don't know if you guys still feel this way, but I associate braces with adolescence and puberty. It's if you're wearing braces above the age of 16, get your life together, man. I feel like I want to go full Fear the Beardo on this and say, just grow up, be a man about it. When he's talking about food allergies, it's like, how does a grown ass man have food allergies? Just microdose that shit and suck it up. That's kind of how I feel about braces. Whether or not that's fair is entirely up for debate. It's not up for debate. It's entirely wrong. But I feel that way, god damn it. Dash, they just want to sell you $1 million smile. Yes, of course, that's what it's behind. Of course, they want to make more money. That's why I'm trying to weed through this properly. I will have to get some fillings in, but they're ones that I expected because the last set of fillings I had many years ago, they aren't holding up properly. So it was just a bad filling before, is the primary thing. Jed's teeth were extra ginger. I hope they're not ginger. I hope they're not secretly red all the way back in there. That would be bad. Dash, Linus Tech Tips is mumbling through adult braces now. Is he really? I haven't watched a whole lot of his stuff. I think I would recognize him. I hear him referenced a lot in the sphere, and people reference him a lot. But yeah, I would have to see how it's working for him because I can't imagine wearing braces. Algrim, also, if you get braces, you'll hate life. Not because of the braces, but because of the spacers. The spacers? They place rubber spacers between your teeth. Oh, yeah, yeah, I know about those things. I didn't know they were called spacers, but God, yeah, that'll be rough. I would definitely more go in the Invisalign route because of that. Usually all of them, and the pain is excruciating. And they leave them there for a week or two. Damn. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to doing that. I'm going to reject that proposition. We also have Wiley Dave over on the kick side saying, "Did you get the DVDs?" I did. Fear the Beardo was able to receive them. It was about 10, 15 DVDs if I remember. It was a smaller amount than you normally send, which is great. So yes, they are received and gratefully so. Thank you, Wiley Dave. I hope you're doing well, my friend, and appreciate you stopping by. So today, let me see. My camera is not lined up properly. Actually, I wanted to go this way. I don't like not being in the center of frame. I know it doesn't bother everyone, but I'm a little OCD. The rule of thirds does not exist on YouTube. All right, you want to be center of frame on something like this. Wiley Dave, 2 seasons, 2 seasons, perfect. Yeah, that wouldn't be too many DVDs. I appreciate it, man. It'll be great to have a full collection of this when streaming dominates or loses something, because that's the thing is when your favorite show gets taken off a streaming service, what do you have? I'm going through that right now with New Who. New Who's on AMC Plus. I am not buying AMC Plus, so I'm relying on my physical copies. Physical copies are phenomenal, and I I don't always appreciate physical copies as much as I should because I've got a decent collection of DVDs, Blu-rays, and VHS, either for myself or my wife. We have a really good collection, several bookcases full. We don't usually use them because what we're looking for is available on streaming. But whenever something isn't available, it's great to have that there as a fallback, if nothing else. Or for video games, I started playing Spider-Man 2018 again, showing my wife it for the first time because she enjoyed the new Brand New Day film so much. And it's great being able to plug that in. It did have to update. It still did take an hour, but it would have been much, much longer if I had to download it outright. I am very much a product of the digital age. My entire adult life and even most of my teen years, streaming services and digital games and stuff like that were the focus. So I don't have this instinct or this knee jerk reaction. It's like immediately think physical copy. I always immediately think digital, and I'm trying to train myself out of that. I recognize why studios and companies are making these decisions to be less physical, but you can't beat having it, owning it, being able to do what you want with it, not relying on their catalogs. And like Wiley Dave is saying, better picture and sound and extra features. We can't discount the value of bonus features. As a kid, I loved watching through the documentaries available on the Lord of the Rings DVDs and even the Hobbit DVDs. Even growing up, the Hobbits were really my favorite things. But the behind the scenes documentaries for the Hobbits are incredible as well. Just learning the filmmaking process. And, after seeing a great movie on DVD, you check if there's a gag reel and you have a good laugh about that. The bonus features is an art form that we're losing. And that's one of the most tragic aspects of going away from the physical era because sometimes they make little videos, but now when they have the opportunity to make as much behind the scene content as they do, they don't. How many movies make 3-hour documentaries behind the scenes like Lord of the Rings did? No one. Whereas before, there was at least a good 15-minute one on DVDs for the average movie. So, yeah, I appreciate those and wish more people would be making those. Wiley Dave been buying since VHS and keep upgrading to Blu-ray and some 4K. Hell yeah, hell yeah. And let me see, Algrim, you're a lot OCD. I have OCD tendencies. I don't think I could ever say I'm actually OCD, but it's very selective OCD. Not my choice what's selected, but there are just things that have to be the certain way, have to be in order, have to be right, and a centerized camera is one of them. By the way, how is my sound for everyone? Always want to make sure that everyone's able to hear me. If I'm a little quiet, maybe I can turn it up. If it's unclear, this is a new microphone I've mentioned, so working at the kinks, making sure everyone can hear me at least. It is looking like I'm a tiny bit quiet, so I'm just going to turn up a little bit on the OBS side. Dashes, my DVD collection mostly only gets used now when the internet is down for some reason. Yeah, that's where I'm at the majority of the time when the internet's down or what I'm looking for isn't available on one of the streaming services that I have. And I don't have all of them because there's way too many and I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on it. Legatus over on Kick said, I never went past DVDs. See no reason to rebuy everything to 4K Blu-ray. Waste of your money. I can definitely see that. I'm not a resolution focused person. That's why I don't care about video games being in 60 frames per second or anything like that. So DVDs are more than good enough for me. But if it's something new, I might get a Blu-ray, but I wouldn't replace anything that I have. I have DVDs of New Who, and that's perfect for me. So I completely understand that perspective. Dash, Jed's so OCD about avoiding the sun. Even Rachel pulls the curtains when he walks into the room. I've moved my OCD-ness onto my wife. It's a contagious thing. Wiley Dave, Arrow Video Kino Lorder keep remastering old movies. They look great. Just watch the two 90s Mortal Kombat movies on 4K. Looked awesome. Hell yeah, I could see doing old stuff like that. Most of the stuff I think of are from the last 20 years, and I don't know if there's been a big enough move forward for me to care. But stuff from the 80s, 70s, 90s, even, I can 100% get behind a remaster of stuff like that. I think remasters are wonderful things. Remakes, not a huge fan of, but remasters, they're very useful tools, and I always appreciate them. There are some incredible remasters out there. Let me see what we have for today. So, like I was about to say, we have 3 topics for today, and they're decent ones. Nothing too short this time around. And I do intend on doing the Chat Choose Your Own Adventure this week since it's been a couple weeks since we were able to do it. If anybody has strong thoughts against it, we can still, punt it off to another week. But I'm more than in the mindset. I've got the creative juices flowing. I'm currently re editing one of my books, Jovian Abyss, if you guys are familiar with that, from the outro of my videos and for my website. That one I'm planning on being the first one published. That's definitely the one that makes the most sense to be published first, as it's the first chronologically, and you need the least baggage, like world building. You need the least world building to understand what's going on. So I'm just going through another edit of it, listening to it. I have a screen reader that helps me detach from it a little bit, so I can experience it in a third person kind of way. It's very useful for me to step out of the written word, because if I'm dived into it, I'll get too focused on each individual word and not think enough about the paragraph, the page, the story, the characters. So by listening to it, it helps me take a step back. And this is a very important part of the editing process. And it's going very well, I think. Only finding a couple things per chapter. And I'm excited for the way it looks out, the way it's looking. I just want to be able to publish it, man. I need to be able to find a way to either get this channel large enough that it makes sense to self publish or find a traditional publisher. And we all know the type of baggage that comes with these days. So I would absolutely love to publish it. I think it is ready for people. At least as soon as I finish this read through that I'm going through, I think it will be ready. But because of that, I've got the writing juices flowing, and I'm all for a chat, choose your own adventure this week. Legatus, I heard one of the people involved in the 90s FF movie wanted to be allowed to get in and remaster it, to clean it up, and update some of the effects. And sadly, other than the bootlegs, he does not know if an original print exists. That's depressing. There are so many old things that have been lost, like the lost episodes of Doctor Who, because I recently found out why Doctor Who lost so many. I thought it was just the BBC didn't have the money, the means to store old episodes after they broadcast, but it was more than that. Apparently, it was an actors union requirement. There were a lot of actors unions who, once television became a thing, and they realized that stations could replay stuff over and over and over again without giving royalties, without paying the actors properly every single time. They freaked out and said, no, you will only be able to play a certain amount of time in a certain amount of a certain number of times in a certain amount of time, and that's it. That was a way to protect themselves. And being afraid of a new medium, I can at least understand where they're coming from. But damn, is the concept of royalties, was that so foreign at the time that, that was the status quo? Apparently, it wasn't until the 70s that they really started moving past those union rules. It's wild. So it makes a lot more sense with that context why we've lost so many things from the 60s and before. It's really depressing though. We've lost so much of our history, so many great things. Wiley Dave, true. I gave all my old DVD and Blu-ray to people growing their collection. Yeah, Wiley Dave's excellent about that. He loves to have the newest, best looking version of all his favorite things, but he can't store all three versions, VHS, DVD, and 4K of everything that he owns. So he's been very kind to assist other people who are working on their physical media collections, and I think that's incredible. Dash, Jed has healed enough to suffer chat's cursed suggestions again. I think that might actually be it. I've been in therapy enough. It's already been remastered. You have it. Well, hell yeah, Wiley Dave. I'm sure if anybody has it, it's going to be him. But let me see. Yes, we have 3 topics today. None of them are going to be too crazy in length. So let's dive into the first one, which is one that I'm very much looking forward to, a launch happening later on this month. The Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope is near on the horizon. The next generation space telescope that will be fulfilling a lot of the role that Hubble has been thus far is constructed and has a launch date. It's going to do things that are currently impossible. The Roman Space Telescope, NASA's next great discovery, is ready to launch on August 30th. That is just a few weeks away from now. The history behind Nancy Grace Roman is an incredible one that I've covered in previous videos. She is an instrumental part of how NASA was founded, getting the resources they needed to build and eventually head out to the moon. So I love that she's getting honored in this fashion with this next generation space telescope. This $4 billion telescope is scheduled to launch on a SpaceX rocket on August 30th at 7:26 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm probably going to be awake then, but barely so I won't be live stream reacting to this or anything like that, but it's so incredible that it's already here because that's 9 months ahead of schedule according to the team. As we all know, astronomy and space travel, rocket science is such a fine-tuned science, it's such a difficult thing reliant on engineering and even weather that delays are expected and common. There's always been delays with these types of projects, anywhere from a few months to a decade in some situations. So to have a project that's done, ready to go early, let alone 9 months early, is an achievement worth celebrating on its own, regardless of what this telescope itself will be used for. It is important to note with this rocket that's launching this telescope that it's going to be headed out to what's called the Lagrange point, a gravitationally stable point a million miles away between the Earth and the Sun. So, this will not be a telescope orbiting the Earth. Similar to JWST, it's going to be out at a Lagrange point, far away from Earth, separated from our orbit, free to take photographs and look at whatever it needs to off on its own, isolated from any interference from Earth or satellites and Earth's atmosphere and electromagnetic field. So this is going to go out far, meaning the launch is not the end of it. We do a final orbit insertion around day 100 to get into our final orbit around Lagrange point 2. So it's going to take about 100 days for this rocket to get out there. And that's going to take a lot of fuel. It's not over as soon as it's launched. It's a full process to get it to where it needs to be to take these incredible photos. After that, we have enough fuel to do all of the momentum dumps and the station keeping maneuvers that we need to for 5 years or more. So this telescope will likely be in service for around 5 years, as long as everything in the process of getting there goes well. They have enough fuel for 5 years of orbital adjustments where it's going to be. And just a little bit to compare this telescope to Hubble, they have here. Consider that scientists expect Roman to produce over 500 terabytes of data per year. In comparison, during its 35 years of service, Hubble only produced 400 terabytes in total. So, this new next generation telescope will be immensely more efficient, doing what the Hubble was able to do in 35 years in less than a year. That's the quality of range that this telescope is doing, because it's important to note the resolution for Roman isn't necessarily much better than Hubble, but it is much quicker. It's capturing more photos in a space of time and getting a whole lot more accomplished. That's where all that data is coming in, is just the amount of photos rather than the quality of photos. Well, 1 month of observations to survey our Milky Way galaxy could take about a century with the Hubble. So it's incredibly advanced and able to do in 1 month what would take the Hubble a century to do. This is leaps and bounds forward in technological advancement and usefulness. It's an incredible piece of hardware. And just to compare to JWST, because some people are wondering, hey, we already have the James Webb Space Telescope. Why do we need another telescope out at the Lagrange point? They are fundamentally serving two different purposes. The Roman Space Telescope, along with Hubble, is more about taking broad images of sections of space to give us a very broad view of the cosmos. On the other hand, JWST is a much more precise instrument. It really dives down into a specific section of space, magnifies it, and lets us see these small things. JWST is able to find exoplanets and study the atmosphere of those exoplanets, whereas Roman is more about capturing entire galaxies or quadrants of galaxies, star fields. It's broad in scale versus precise in scale. So having these two out of the Lagrange point working together could spell a new generation of incredible astrophotography and take that science into the future. I really can't wait till Roman's online. We're going to get some incredible photos from the Roman telescope within the first few weeks, I'm sure. It's going to be really interesting. Legata said, a telescope so powerful it can see the change rooms on approaching UFOs. Yes, it's a peep show. It's a peep show telescope. Dash quantity over quality, but also make it expensive. So yeah, Roman is making quantity, you could say, whereas JWST is making quality, and they both serve different purposes. And working together, they can make things incredible and help move forward our understanding. And yeah, $4 billion for something like this isn't actually that bad. It's really not that bad, all things considered, considering how much other things cost. Like, how much did Hubble cost? Hubble cost adjusted for inflation. In today's money, Hubble would have cost $16 billion in today's money. So Roman's a fraction of the cost and gonna be a lot more efficient. And Hubble gave us some incredible photos, helped us understand our universe in incomparable ways. Hubble has been an impressive piece of technology that really was instrumental in the late 20th century and early 21st century astronomy. So, yeah, a fraction of the cost for many hundreds of times higher efficiency is well worth it, in my opinion. Algrim, a telescope so powerful it can see Legatus back, send Legatus back into the Roman Empire. Uh, there might be some day where we're able to glimpse into the past. Viewing the past isn't breaking causality or anything, just like traveling into the past doesn't break causality and is allowed by all laws of physics. So a telescope that someday could look into the past, theoretically possible. Have no foundation for it. I did get it. The Roman Empire, I did get it. I, I did. I promise I did. The space telescope, the Roman Empire. Uh the Roman Empire, I need to study more. I've thought about it a lot recently. In my books, there is a faction that I plan on having base a lot of their culture on the Roman Empire. Just with everyone that we've seen here on the internet today. I don't know if you guys have seen this resurgence in love for the Roman Empire. This new generation of people my age and even previous generations who have romanticized Roman culture to a huge degree and be like, we need to bring back the legions and hail Caesar. It's becoming culturally relevant to long for the days of Rome. So I was inspired by that to think, all right, what if a group of people was able to detach themselves from normal society for a reason I can't explain for spoilers and fully embrace that mindset? No, it won't be 100% historically accurate because it is intentionally warped by 2000 years of uh, zeitgeist and modern day perspective on it. It's intentionally like that. But I need to study a lot more Roman history to prepare for writing that book, which will be the next book I actually write, most likely, if not the one right after that. I know I can't read the full rise and fall of the Roman Empire in time, but I'm looking for other books. I've got two Roman strategy books for how they conducted their warfare. Definitely going to dive into those. I want to find some Roman economy books, see how they were able to do that. They did some incredible things with roads and aqueducts alone, make them one of the most interesting ancient societies. So I want to represent Romans in this off branch of humanity in my books without portraying them in a negative light like so much of Hollywood would these days, but not in a too aggrandizing way. Like, I want to ride that balance, reflect what they were in as much as I can, with the added detail that it obviously has evolved. Our understanding of Romans have evolved in the at that point well over 2,000 years since the fall of the Roman Empire. So yeah, it's on my mind a lot recently. If any of you guys love Roman culture, I'm sure Legatus, considering his name, is a fan of it. So yeah, Legatus, if any of you or Algrim, it looks like the other half of your ancestry. So yeah, Algrim, Legatus, if anybody knows some great Roman resources to understand the mindset of ancient Rome, I would love some reading recommendations because I want to dive into that and really understand that culture in a way to depict it accurately, honestly, and interestingly. Because that's the end of it, is interestingly. One aspect of it that I'm going to heavily focus on, that I believe I'm getting right, is Romans, they really did believe that they were helping these nations, these disparate tribes, by conquering them and enveloping them into the Roman Empire. Like Julius Caesar, please correct me if I'm wrong in any of this. Like I said, I'm not a Roman history expert, but he did offer citizenship to the people of nations that he conquered. He was really trying to bring them under this one umbrella of Rome and unify them all. So having this idea of, bringing people in and you're helping people, you're civilizing them. They really thought they were bringing civilization to improve the quality of life for these people. And there's an argument for it. Their roads and aqueducts were well above and beyond what a lot of nations and tribes at the time were capable of. So this other civilization that I'm depicting in the future in my book series, I want them to have that mindset is where conquering isn't about stealing natural resources. It isn't about enslaving. It isn't about proving that they're better or that they're afraid or anything like that. They will legitimately believe they are doing the right thing for the people that they're conquering. And I want to depict that as their mindset because they they are going to be seen in a semi-villainous light. They are an antagonistic force in my book series, but I never want to portray them as, oh, they're just evil invaders. There's going to be a POV character who is one of these people, and I want to show nuance in his character and show that he genuinely believes he's doing the right thing, helping civilize these other groups of people. I hope I got that right. For those who would know better than me, but that mindset fascinates me. It's a lot unlike many other conquerors through history. A lot of other conquerors were focused on things like resources, enslavement, and showing that we're better than you, and things like that. But Rome is one of the few conquerors that I'm aware of that was bringing people into the fold and thought that they were helping rather than harming those they came across. And I love that. I love that idea from a historical standpoint. Dash said, "You ever seen the HBO series Rome? It's fantastic." I have not seen that. I definitely will check that out before I start writing this book. As long as it's historically accurate, I don't know how much it was. Regardless, I hear it's very well written, so I'm interested in it either way. Alcrum said they were. Okay, so it looks like I'm on the right track. Dash, real villains believe they're in the right, like Karen's in the HOA. You had me for the first part. You really had me, Dash. I was thinking, I absolutely agree. The best villains are the ones who believe they're right and have an argument for it. The ends justify the means villains. Absolutely. I love those villains. And then you're like, yeah, like Karen's an HOA. I'm like, no, they're just pure evil. There's no redeeming. There's no argument. There's no intelligence behind a Karen or the HOA. He plays with my emotions, chat. Dash really knows how to play with my emotions. So please drop some smitings in the chat for Dash. Playing with my emotions like that, bringing up the HOA, raising my blood pressure. Algrim says, and the defoliator. Yes, and the defoliator. They always think they're doing what's right. And I think that is a fascinating perspective. Of course, sometimes it makes sense to have a villain who just is evil for evil's sake or is corrupted. Like, Emperor Palpatine. He's a great villain. I don't think he's a very interesting villain, but he's a very efficient villain. There are times where stuff like that is necessary, but I personally love villains that are more complicated. Not that they're right, not that they should necessarily even be redeemed, but that they're interesting, they're nuanced, they're layered. Still be pure evil. That's fine. That's great. But, you know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I see as an ethos for some of the best villains that have ever been written. Maybe not depicted, because the visual aesthetic of villains is very important in a storytelling medium like film and television. But yeah, for me, it's all about the writing and the acting, I would say, as well. But all right, we have two other topics for this evening. One's gonna really raise my blood pressure, and the other one's gonna be pretty cool. So let's get the blood pressure one out of the way really quick. It's no secret that I am not a fan of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, despite being a huge fan of the majority of his filmography and the source material. But his film is undeniably a critical and box office success. It is right on the cusp of making $1 billion. Probably will get there in the next few days, if not this weekend. You cannot deny that it is done extraordinarily well and people enjoy it. I may disagree with that, but that is the fact of the situation. However, in addressing the legitimate criticism that is out there from people like me and the legitimate criticism from people attacking the Odyssey. No one has some thoughts about what he calls amateur critics that I needed to dive into because I believe he is not showing the true complex issue that he's bringing up. I think he's watering it down to be wafer thin, ironically, like a lot of his modern day scripts. Christopher Nolan says there is a fundamental flaw with amateur film criticism. See, to identify the mechanic doesn't invalidate the mechanic or the mechanism. Let me read that again. To identify the mechanism does not invalidate the mechanism. While that's true, that is absolutely fundamentally true. It feels like he's saying this to delegitimize anyone who's criticizing his works and works like his for being trope heavy. And those are two very different conversations. But to get into more detail on his actual thoughts, he said, the criticism that's so often leveled at movies in general is, oh, the character has to be made sympathetic. So the character is manipulated in different ways or changed in different ways. That is a bit of word salad. I don't think that's getting across what he wants it to say. This is clearly not something he thought about ahead of time. This is a quick answer. This is a quick answer, so I'm not necessarily judging him for that. But I wanted to point that out. That's a bit of word salad. I don't think that's really helpful to his point here. And that's a fundamental flaw of film criticism in a way, or storytelling criticism. Because to be able to identify the mechanism does not invalidate the mechanism. So, someone's identified that the character has to be sympathetic in his movies. We'll assume that's what he's trying to say here. So the character is manipulated in different ways or changed in different ways. That's not referencing any trope in general, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say someone recognized that his character was going through a well known trope of being sympathetic and having to have personal trauma to undercut any actions that would be seen as villainous. I'm hoping that's what he means there. It is unclear entirely, though. But to address his broader point here, that it's amateur for critics to see a trope, say that trope, and think that's criticism. That is true. I will agree with him there. The problem is, very few people actually do that. Very few people just go, oh, yeah, that's the hero's journey, therefore bad. Most people will go, that feels really lazy. You didn't do anything interesting with the trope. You've got too many tropes. It's done in such a bland way, and that is legitimate. Using a mechanism is not a flaw, but overly relying upon a mechanism in a lazy manner or using too many tropes is absolutely fair criticism. He's trying to devalue criticism of his trope usage, which is a legitimate concern of his modern filmmaking, and dismissing it in this way, which I find to be rather insulting. It's pretty pseudo intellectual of him drop out this word salad and say, I'm allowed to use whatever tropes I want, and that's a good thing. Yes, these are well used tools. They are tried, tested, and proved by incredible writers over centuries. A lot of these tropes have been going on in literature for a long time. Using a trope isn't a problem. But when you use the trope without depth, without nuance, without twisting it, without using it in an interesting fashion, it looks lazy and is boring. He added, I'm thinking more of amateur criticism because they feel they've identified the mechanism, they feel that it invalidates it. If there are any critics doing this in the flat way that he's suggesting, absolutely, that's a problem. Being able to notice a fundamental mechanism of storytelling doesn't make it bad. He is right there. But I don't see many critics doing that, whether or not they're ones that I agree with or not. That's not something that's commonly used. If they are saying something like that, it's more often used, hey, we saw these 20 tropes very blatantly used. That's bad. It's only in group identification of these mechanisms that it becomes a situation where criticism is formed in this manner. That can be true of certain elements. The film grammar, film language evolves with that. So when a trope becomes too familiar to an audience, then it has to be changed. But we do, as filmmakers, avail ourselves of that common language. We build on that understanding. Our audience has seen many films and they understand that language. he's over reliant on it. That's one thing that I have criticized him in the past before is his use of tropes because he focuses more on the technology. I called him an engineer rather than a storyteller in my review of the Odyssey. The Odyssey was made by someone with the soul of an engineer, not of a storyteller. And it's because of stuff like this. These tropes, this language, as he puts it, is used as a crutch to provide a vehicle for his engineering prowess. And that is not immune to criticism. And he's pretending that it is. So, yeah, any language, whether or not it's in this fashion of filmmaking or in common vernacular, can be diluted down into basic words and become boring. Imagine if we just started talking in idioms. Idioms in and of themselves are not a problem, but I think idioms are an excellent language comparison since he brought up the metaphor comparison to what he's talking about with tropes. So, idioms, using them in your day to day life, nothing wrong with that. Idioms are a very provocative tool and efficient way to translate what you're thinking to the person you're communicating with. But if you exclusively discuss things in idioms, that's going to be jarring, weird, off putting, and ultimately dilute your point entirely because there's no substance to it at that point. There's a great Star Trek The Next Generation episode where Jean Luc Picard comes across an alien species that only speaks in idioms, and it makes it so difficult to breach communication, to be able to understand that species and open up a dialogue with them because you have to understand the stories behind their idioms and the individual meanings to their idioms. Because idioms without context or prior knowledge don't make sense. Like, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. If you don't know what that means, you're going to be a little bit confused. Or, I'd like to be a fly on the wall. These idioms, they need the context to work. And if you're overly reliant upon them, you ultimately say nothing. And the same is true for film tropes. You can use it effectively to translate your point in a very evocative manner. If it's all idioms, if it's all tropes, it is shallow, uninteresting, and downright lazy. God damn it. I realized I wasn't recording. I do record those segments, and I'm gonna have to get that section from something else because I forgot to do that. Damn. But yeah, I think the comparison to idioms is a very apt one. Idioms and tropes are very effective in language, and they help communicate complicated things to people who already know what those idioms mean. But if you over rely on idioms, it's really lazy and weird. It's just weird, and the same is true. So I agreed with him to a certain extent, but overall feel like he's weaponizing this to devalue any criticism against him for using tropes. Ginger Norseman, you wait till you get to the Yuzon Vong books in the EU. I'm very excited to do so. I was actually mapping out my EU read working with Adam today to make sure there's too many books in the EU. I wasn't going to listen to them all. So I want to get the essential ones, and he helped me get the essential list. It's still like 30 books, but charting my course through the EU, eventually getting to the Yuzon Vong and figuring out where I'm going to get my hands on them because most like libraries around me don't have physical copies, let alone audio copies, but I think I found a way. Uh, and it's going to disgust some people out there, but I promise I did try to find these on legitimate audiobook sites. The EU books, a lot of them are on Internet Archive, which is the Library of Congress's website. Using the PDFs on there, I can upload it to an AI reader and listen to it. I know using AI isn't something that I'd love to do, but I feel like it is my best option at this point to continue to enjoy the EU. And, if I was just reading them, it's going to take me a decade with how much time I have on my hands. Listening in the car is one of the best opportunities I have. So, uh, I'm doing the best I can. I promise, chat, and AI is the way for that to be accomplished. But I'm very much looking forward to the Yuzon Vong. That's the new Jedi Order, correct? I have a long way before I get there. Anyone see that Nolan interview with the Chinese media journalist? Guy got toasted. I believe what I was just talking about was an excerpt, at least, from a Chinese podcast. So it might be what you're talking about, but maybe not. Ginger North Dash is saying he sent it to me on Discord. Okay, so it might be different. So you're saying a Chinese journalist roasted Christopher Nolan? I'm gonna pull this up right now. Uh, okay, I think I glitched out there a little bit while Discord was coming up, but I look okay now. Let me see. If this is something that you guys think is good to react to, I can listen to it. We can react to it on stream. I don't know if I'll add it. It's Asmongold. Fine. All right, we're gonna add this and see what this sounds like. All right, apparently a Chinese journalist has an interesting conversation with Christopher Nolan. I have not seen this. It is a clip from Asmongold that someone sent me, so we're going to react to it together and see what is going on here.
So this is an interview with Christopher Nolan about the Odyssey. I saw a lot of people talking about this. It has 14 million views. Holy shit.
Hello, Mr. Nolan?
Hello?
Can I just get it from... Yeah, I'm going to get it from Jeff Keighley. Nothing against Asmongold. I just don't want to react to someone reacting to something. So I'm going to try to get it. He had it from Jeff Keighley. I'm just going to react to that one. Oh, yeah. You guys hear that Dave Bautista is in the talks to play Kratos in the God of War live action TV series now that Ryan Hurts is out? God, that's going to be terrible. Ginger Northman, yeah, I get the same feeling regarding Asmon covering stuff. Reactception. Yeah, it's... I don't have anything against people liking him, but I'm just not a fan. And here we go. Let's react to this together.
All right. Hello, Mr. Nolan?
Hello.
Nice to meet you. Well, filmmakers are bards of the modern age.
I mean, I'm sure there's a language barrier, which is making this a tad awkward. I don't love that the press tour's been more focused on China than Greece. That's a problem to me. I know it doesn't bother many other people out there, but that does bother me, especially for a Greek epic. But that's a different conversation.
Like the Greeks know of Odysseus, Achilles, Agamemnon because of Homer's narratives. We know of the Batman, the Joker, and Oppenheimer because of your narratives. And
I don't love where she's going with this because those were all people known prior to Nolan. The Oppenheimer one, you have an argument for because, you know, telling the historical tale of someone prior to him, absolutely. But Batman and Joker, I don't think is going on with what she's hoping her point is.
Homer tells stories of distant past. You too. The Trojan War happened between 12 to 11.
Oh my god, this clip is 17 minutes. All right. I'm going to have to listen to the Asmongold one because at least that's 3 minutes long. I'm sorry, chat. I am yo-yoing the hell out of you.
So this is an interview with Christopher Nolan about the Odyssey. I saw a lot of people talking about this. It has 14 million views. Holy shit.
Hello, Mr. Nolan?
Hello.
Nice to meet you. Filmmakers are bards of the modern Oppenheimer because of your narratives. Celebratory. It was
just jumping forward a little bit.
So Homer's tone was celebratory. It was victorious. He celebrates the victory of the war, and your tone is emphatically not.
All right, I wasn't sure about this lady. It seemed like she was just glazing the hell out of him, Bukkake style. But she actually said something real there in a professional manner. I love her. I love her now. Yes. All right. It's emphatically not the Odyssey. Thank you, woman. All right.
My first question is...
Let's get some smitings in chat for Christopher Nolan from that smiting that he went under from this random Chinese reporter. Hell yeah, let's get some smitings in there representing that.
Does that say something about our age? Are you a bard for a civilization at dusk?
Showing the downfall of civilization. You're a bard of the downfall of civilization, bruh. That doesn't sound like a compliment. She's either completely oblivious to what she's actually saying or a freaking genius.
What an insanely great question. Why the fuck did you shift the idea? Like, do you really think that the Greeks returning home...
I'm not going to really react to what he's having to say here.
Home from the Trojan War, they were like, oh man.
For me, I don't think I'm completely at odds with the way Homer's telling the story.
You are. You're on the back pedal now. Come on, dude. You told a story about a Vietnam vet, not about the glorious hero Odysseus returning from triumph at Troy. So it's fine. You had an adaptation. I hate it, but you did adapt the story. Stick to your freaking guns and accept that you're an adaptation and not accurately portraying the source material.
When you look at it from a sort of historical perspective.
Really?
Historical perspective. I'm actually more accurate than Homer was to it because I look at it from a historic perspective. So actually, I'm more honoring Homer than Homer by doing it my way. What a ridiculous thing to say. I'm not actually diametrically opposed to what Homer said because I looked at it from a different way than Homer and in a more historical sense than Homer, even though Homer was the closest thing to a historian available in the area in which he lived. What a freaking moron.
You're not at odds at it whenever you make Helen of Troy black?
Having worked on Oppenheimer before this, which is very much a film about the end of the world, it definitely carried that sensibility into this.
Which is exactly the problem. You shouldn't have carried that over. I thought Oppenheimer was good. I've never rewatched it. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't like historical epics of that fashion. So I don't care that it was successful. Great. It was enjoyable enough as a film. But you don't carry on things from your previous work into a new work when you're adapting completely separate stories. What if I adapted the Transformers animated show into a movie, right? Let's say I made a new Transformers film. Should I carry anything that I used on the set of that, my mindset on that, and make Sense and Sensibility more like Transformers? No. If you're making a series, yeah, make the second one like the first one, great. But these are completely different stories with different themes and different eras with different characters with different morality. They are so diametrically opposed and different that you must address them differently. Imagine if Michael Bay went from Transformers to Sense and Sensibility. It would be moronic for him to say, well, I just came off Transformers and I really like the mindset of blowing shit up, so I figured I should really add that into Sense and Sensibilities. These women, they just talk so much. I just want to blow some stuff up. I'm sure some people would love that, but that's not Sense and Sensibility. And I don't know why I'm using that as an example because I don't know much about Sense and Sensibility either.
Adaptation of the Odyssey.
One thing that captured me was that the concept of atonement doesn't exist in Greek culture. It doesn't exist in the Greek language. It doesn't exist in Homer's Odyssey. It exists in your Odyssey.
I freaking love this girl. I really thought she was glazing the hell out of him at the beginning, but she is taking him to task. No, atonement wasn't a thing, at least not a thing that they were focused on. He was too nailed into this idea that we need to feel bad for our colonialization. We need to feel bad for Zeus's law that I made into something that it wasn't. And I took it from a historical standpoint, even though I made everything up. I'm so glad we finally have a reporter being honest with him. She's still being professional. If she were raging like I'm doing on this stream, that would be unprofessional, wouldn't be cool. But she's going about it in a perfect way.
A natural question that I had, did you Christianize the Odyssey? Why did atonement become important?
There's a lot of people who have argued that it's good. Nolan's version of the Odyssey is good because it is Christianized. And whether or not you are Christian or not, I diametrically oppose with that view as well, because this isn't a Christian story. It is a Greek pagan story, a polytheist story that existed many thousands of years, or 1,000 years before Christ. It shouldn't be influenced by modern sensibilities or any sensibilities post when it's set. So whether or not he's going to say, yes, absolutely, it's Christian, which I have no doubt he will not say, the people using that narrative is a strange one. I just like that she's asking this question because it feels wrong for it to be a Christian story, and it kind of does feel like a Christian story, so he must address it.
So glad that, like, isn't it so fucking annoying that we have to rely on the Chinese to uphold Western civilization?
That is actually a really good point from Asmongold, it's really disappointing that Chinese journalists are the ones taking him to task, asking him good questions.
I think it's a really good question. I think the idea of atonement, in a way, is what we bring as viewers to the story.
What the fuck are you smoking? He has no idea what he's talking about. He's been glazed by Western reporters for months about this movie, and he's been prepared for all the softballs. Like, you're literally the greatest one who's ever done anything. I just love being in the room with you. Oh my god, I'm getting all tingly. How'd you be so magical? You're so awesome. That he was not prepared for someone to say, hey, you didn't adapt Homer. What's up? And so now he's saying that atonement is something the audience brings to the narrative. Why on earth would the audience bring atonement to the story of Odysseus?
I don't know whether there really is atonement in the film. It's not a deliberate attempt to, for example, Christianize it, but it's an outgrowth, or it's a natural conclusion of burrowing in on this philosophical idea of what happens when you break Zeus's law.
That was such word salad. I knew he didn't do it Christianized on purpose. Absolutely, he did not. But to have that say it's the natural conclusion of burrowing into what it means to break Zeus's law is to focus on atonement. That is word salad. And to have him argue earlier on that this is more honoring Homer than Homer because he took it from a view of historical accuracy, and then to defend adding in a moral sensibility that wasn't a focus or even a thing in that era as a natural conclusion to looking at it in the modern era and adding in the Zeus's law shit, I'm starting to think he might be an idiot. He's great at the engineering, but he's not so good with the words. Jonathan Nolan may really be responsible for the best of his work because Jonathan was involved in a lot of his earlier films. Most of the ones that I love had Jonathan Nolan. Was Jonathan the wordsmith? It made a great team. The wordsmith and the engineer working together. Great, great films. I will not discount how much I love Christopher Nolan's early filmography. But to have him scrambling this much for a basic question about how he didn't adapt the Odyssey shows me he's not a master of words like people are glazing him as. He's not this generation's Homer.
An age that demands apology from greatness.
Yeah.
We live in an age that demands apology from greatness.
That is an excellent line from her. We do live in an era where being great is something that you have to apologize for, that it's disgusting. How dare you be successful? The era of participation trophies does ultimately lead to having to break down heroes of glory and triumph like Odysseus. And that is the worldview that Nolan approached this ancient epic with a modern lens. Whether or not that's political is beside the point. Looking at the Odyssey through a modern lens is a mistake. Even if it was a completely different political or social view, if it's modern, it's inappropriate to use in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Great storytellers, when they portray greatness, and Homer celebrates it. We turn greatness into privileges and we demand apologies for it.
I love this woman. She is taking him to task, just asking the basic questions and just stating fact. Greatness is a sin right now. And so we must apply that sin, the concept of sinning, to an ancient epic where greatness was great and greatness was celebrating. Nolan's sitting there completely confused because he doesn't understand what she's saying. He doesn't understand that she's right, that we have a fundamentally different view on greatness, on glory, of morality today than we did back then, and that's not a bad thing. He is out of his depth with this woman.
That's a fact of Hollywood, and I'm just wondering if as one of the greatest storytellers of our age, is it still a story of apology?
When you're talking about storytelling, you're always in conversation with the expectations of the audience. So it really is
He's blaming the audience again. Atonement's was brought in by the audience, so it had to be there. That was the natural conclusion. Oh, I was looking at what the expectations of the audience were, so it's not my fault that was bad. I was trying to satisfy the audience and not think about what was good. just blaming the audience. Great.
Energy that's brought from the audience as well as an energy that's put forward from the story itself. Are we going to treat greatness as an absolute, or coming from a democratic, coming from a more idealized philosophical state?
So now he's just bashing ancient Greek cultures. We're more democratic, we're more civilized. And yeah, in some ways we are, in other ways we're not. It doesn't matter though. Tell the story as it's told. Don't bash on the source material. We talk about that all the time. Never bash the source material if you're making an adaptation. And history, Greek culture, Greek mythology is the source material here. So don't bash it by saying we're more civilized these days. So we had to show that greatness wasn't monolithic.
That we live in today's world, where we want to view
It's absolute. Yeah, I don't like this outlook.
people as equal.
This is truly a participation trophy view of the world. Yes, people are equal and should be equal in opportunity, in available, societal treatment, but you do earn things throughout your life that set you apart. Greatness is earned and should be earned, and when it's earned, it should be rewarded. So he truly does believe that we should punish greatness because it devalues other people and make people not equal. This idea of equality driven to this degree, where everyone must be down in the muck together, sloshing around with the pigs because we're truly equal and that's how we're more civilized, is honestly a vile perspective of the world. And no wonder he had to desecrate great heroes of glory and myth like Odysseus.
We have to apologize for that greatness, and the answer is
People aren't equal.
yes, we do.
You do not need to apologize for greatness. How can this man say apologize for greatness when he's currently being cockslobbered on as the greatest filmmaker in the history of Hollywood? And like I've said, I really love a lot of his work. I love so many Nolan films. But to have this man who's being heralded as the current day Homer, as this generation Scorsese, as the greatest we've ever known, have the gall to say other people need to apologize for their greatness. Please, sir, can I have another 20% of the film's gross? This is hypocrisy at its finest. I don't know if he realizes that he is mocking himself here, saying that he is something wrong with society, that his success is something that he must apologize for. That is what he just said. You do have to apologize for greatness. Well, you're being heralded as the greatest. So where's the apology? Is everyone who went to go see the Odyssey going to get a handwritten note from you saying, I'm sorry, I'm so amazing. I'm sorry I made such a good movie. Please accept my reimbursement of your ticket because I'm not better than you. We should all be in the mud together because that's the only way we can truly be equal. I don't know if he realizes that he just fucking said that he needs to apologize to the world, and I doubt he ever will, because that wouldn't go with the egotistical man he's become.
Or the audience rejects the greatness.
As you were speaking, first of all, I like
The
how
audience rejects the greatness. I think that he disproves this by himself with his own Batman movies. Bruce Wayne is the quintessential great man. This is a guy that he's still a fan of this interview of in deep-seated China and what happened. Of course.
All right, the rest is Asmongold stuff. But that was a hell of an interview. I love this woman. This Chinese reporter brought Christopher Nolan to task and had him admit his own hypocrisy, his own lack of historical understanding. He simultaneously claimed that he was more honoring to Homer than Homer was, and the themes of Homer than Homer was, and that greatness is something that we need to apologize for because we're more civilized than the ancient Greece, but please keep slobbering on my dong. What a pretentious, pseudo-intellectual, hypocritical idiot. I still love this man's work. I have to keep reiterating that. But he does not deserve the acclaim that he's receiving. He's a great technical filmmaker, but that does not make him a great storyteller. It does not make him a good adapter. It does not make him someone who understands Greek epics and Greek society, because he fundamentally got it wrong and insulted every aspect of the source material, thinking that he is the greatest without realizing that he says greatness is something to be ashamed of. Holy hell in a handbasket. That was vile. Thank you, Dash, for sending that to me. I did not know about that. My God, that interview was simultaneously incredible and horrific. Let me see. I'm gonna try to catch up with what you guys have been saying. They're probably afraid I can't read that, Dash, but maybe they are. Asmongold was short and sweet. Absolutely. Thank you for the smitings, Dash, for Nolan there. Algrim, not only is Batista woke and a vegan retard now, but since he's discontinued his AAS cycles and other PEDs, he's a fully tattooed grandma. Yeah, he does not have the physique for Kratos anymore. He is a terrible choice. Thank you for the smitings from Ginger Norseman. Can I get some blessings in the chat for me having to go through that video? I need some blessings. Ginger Jesus can only bless so much. I cannot. Others I could bless, but myself I cannot bless. So please drop some blessings in the chat for me. Oh, guess Nolan has no balls. Crossed leg sitting. Yeah, that was pretty effeminate. Ginger Norseman talking about Drax. Yeah. Dave Batista. Welcome in, Dr. Rachel, saying, hey, nerd. Hey, yourself. Dr. Rachel, I wonder if part of the Odyssey's budget was to pay for Nolan loving interviews. I'm not going to say you're right, but you're probably right. You're probably right. Alcrum, ask the defoliator to apologize for greatness. See what happens. I think he might defoliate some things. I think he might. He leaves no one around to apologize to, Dash. The modern audience that hates greatness, Dash. Yeah. Why on earth would the audience hate greatness? What a moronic thing to say. Dr. Rachel, I like her. I always appreciate when someone brings an intellectual sledgehammer up against a narcissist pedestal. What a narcissist he's become. They've been sucking his dick for a decade, and of course that'll change you. Dash, Jed's still upset about the unequal treatment he got from the dentist. Something like that. Ginger Norseman, the hypocrisy of this Muppet. The hypocrisy was really on display there at the end. Algrim, Dash, great line. Jed is in the grudge match. I'll bring him to task. I'm glad you sent this to Jed. Yes, Dash, absolutely. Thank you for sending that. That was a great clip. I'm glad we could react to that because there was some gold in there, some absolute gold. Dr. Rachel, you meant to reply to Algrim. Oh, yeah, about Philly. Yeah, bit confused. Algrim, I'm okay with you attacking the Red Norseman. Dr. Rachel got a little confused in chat. It's all good. Dr. Rachel, Nolan needs to get off his high Trojan horse already. What a Trojan horse this film was. Thank you for all the blessings in the chat. I appreciate it. Let's see how many likes we have on the stream. I don't really do that as much as other people. Like, Dermy's really good at hyping up people for some likes. Let's see. I'm going to pull a grift like him. I'm going to do it. I'm going to see if it can work. So currently we have killing time. We have 6 likes on this stream, but 9 people watching. Let's see if we can bump at that number to 10 likes. If we get 10 likes, we'll absolutely get on to the Chat Choose Your Own Adventure segment in just a minute here. And if we can get up to 25 likes, I know that is quite out on the horizon. We need to up the numbers to make that possible. I will drop some free gifted memberships at 25 likes. So let's see if we're able to get there. I'm going to keep that up now to monitor that. But like I said at the beginning, we have one more topic to dive into, and I think it'll be a really exciting one, but a short one, and then we'll have Chat Choose Your Own Adventure. Dr. Rachel dropping some smitings for Nolan. Yes, drop some smitings for Nolan, some blessings for me, and some likes for all of you to get those free memberships. Algrim, can I like it 4 more times? I don't know. I have a shitload of alts for legitimate reasons, but I could probably get us to 25 with just my alts at this point. Let me refresh to see where we are with the likes, you fine people. All right, we're at 8 likes. We're getting up to 10. Let's see if we can get up to 10 and hopefully to 25 by the end of the stream. And to do that, maybe the best way to accomplish that is to share out this stream. Get some people over here. Drop the link in Discord, on Twitter. Let's get some good crowds going on for the chat chooser and adventure, because that's when this stream is at its best, when we have a whole group of people throwing out suggestions, coming up with crazy things to make the stories more interesting, torturing me, of course, in the process, but having a hell of a lot of fun time. So please share out this video, like if you haven't, and keep chatting away like you all have been. I always appreciate everyone's involvement. But yeah, let's dive into the last topic of the evening. This one is actually going to be a fun one, an actual fun one, unlike the last two really, that got up my blood pressure. Dr. Rachel, woohoo, everyone go create those new accounts. I mean, ask your friends to tune in and like the stream. Yes, I'm not going to ask you guys to make alts. Please share out the stream and let's see what we're able to get up in here. We currently have 8 people watching. I think we got up to 11 at one point. Let's see how high we can go for the Chat Choose Your Own Adventure segment of this stream. But until then, the next topic. The proof is out there. We can all finally have immutable proof that humanity has been to the moon, or is at least capable of going to the moon. I'm very excited about this news. It is a tiny bit concerning and impressive that it happened at all, but this is a story that I hope will have some lasting consequences and have some great research done as a result. A SpaceX rocket will crash into the moon this week, and scientists aren't sure what to expect. So there is a rocket that is a discarded piece of a SpaceX launch that has somehow miraculously made its way to the moon. I was shocked when I heard this, to be quite frank with all of you, because the idea of something escaping Earth orbit, not crashing down into Earth, or being launched out into the solar system is very low. The odds of one of those two things not happening is very low, because yes, the moon is large. It's freaking huge, but in the degree view of outer space from Earth, it's rather small. It's hitting a bullseye miles away without being able to see it, and it's moving at the same time. This is beyond a million accident. This is truly a very unlikely occurrence in my limited understanding of the mathematics of orbital transfers. Watching this one gives us a rare chance to open up ejecta plume science and calibrate those models against a real event, which matters for every future thing we deliver to the moon. So that's a quote from a scientist talking about the scientific research benefits of this rocket crashing into the moon. On August 5th, Earth's moon is due for a human-made high-speed impact from an identified flying object, a spent SpaceX Falcon 9 upper stage. The event will lead to a literal dust-up on the lunar landscape. On the one hand, like I mentioned, this is an impressive coincidence that it happened for this rocket to escape Earth's atmosphere and Earth's orbit and not get launched out into the wider solar system beyond the Earth moon system. Already a massive coincidence, but it's going to be the first time that we strike the moon. This is the equivalent of firing a missile at the moon. It's celestial body warfare for the first time. Yes, it's an accident, but it's straight up inter-body warfare in space. And there are plenty of things to find out as a result of this. There's research to be done as a result of it. So scientists, of course, are taking this coincidence and using the opportunity to study what would happen when things impact the moon. That Falcon 9 upper stage is a leftover from a launch that sent Firefly's Blue Ghost 1 launcher to the moon on January 15th, 2025. So yes, this was a recent launch that eventually did end up on the moon. So the trajectory being kind of lined up to the moon is not as coincidental as it immediately seemed like to me. It's still incredibly unlikely. It's very unlikely to me. Our calculations suggest the plume should be several orders of magnitude brighter than the dark sky background for the first few minutes after impact, Joe told space.com as a scientist thinking about this. So the plume should be visible, though I'd stress this is a single nominal case. The real one will look different and the numbers are on the optimistic side, but the point worth making is that the flash isn't really the story here. So yes, he's talking about when it impacts the moon, it's going to be on the side facing the sun, visible from the earth. So with good enough equipment, scientists will be able to watch this impact on the moon and learn things from it, because there are benefits to be had from this. How much regolite, the surface of the moon dust, will be blasted up into orbit from that? How much will an object like this going this speed affect the moon's surface? That'll help us know what size can eventually become a problem for the Earth. Because if a bunch of regolite really were blasted off the surface by something many times of magnitude larger than this rocket, how much bigger would it have to be to get to Earth's atmosphere and pose a problem for us? And we also want to consider the mass drivers. We could be launching things at high velocity to the moon to support the moon base in the future. That is one way to deliver material to the moon when you don't have to worry about human passengers. So, how well would it work out? Is the surface able to maintain a hit like that? And these plumes will help us be able to study the geology of the area into a greater degree. So this is a great opportunity that we have to prep for the future of moon bases. Joe emphasized that there's great slam dunk science to be had. Watching this gives us a rare chance to open up ejective plume science and calibrate those models against a real event, which matters for every future thing we deliver to the moon. Yes, they're going to be able to find out more. And here's a little simulation of what that might look like. It's going to be quite the impact with how fast it's going. And there's a ton of great information in this article about the research they plan on conducting. I highly recommend people go check this out. This, of course, is not the first time things have hit the moon. If you're talking about low speeds, there's been the landers, of course. Dash in the chat is talking about a Chinese rocket, but this one is happening in a great location with a big rocket. These cast off pieces of the Falcon 9 are not small, and it's going ridiculously fast to the point that we can see it from Earth, which is why I plan on having my telescope ready to go to try and witness this event. It's going to be visible here at 2:35 a.m. on August 5th. I'm going to have to try to remember to be awake still then. It's only in 2 days. I really hope that I can get it into position, see the moon, focus on the light side of the moon. The problem will, however, be the contrast and exposure. Yes, the plume will be brighter than the bright side of the moon if I can magnify it properly, but it might get washed out to the human eye. So I have to calibrate my camera properly to be able to tell the difference. It's going to be so precise. I'm probably going to get it wrong. I don't have super advanced equipment, but I might be able to record an impact, a man-made impact on the moon. Wouldn't that be incredible? I would have conducted an experiment that emphatically, empirically shows that humanity is capable of going to the moon. Now, of course, that won't shut up flat Earth people. That won't shut up moon landing deniers or firmament believers or anything like that. But I will have done it myself, and I would love to do that. So please drop some blessings in the chat to help me get some good luck to catch this impact on the moon. We're always worried about space debris in the modern era, and SpaceX is a huge contributor to that problem. So there's also that part of it to be concerned about. If this happens enough, could we damage anything on the moon? Could this crash land into Earth? Everyone's worried about space debris. I realize that space is massive, even in Earth orbit, so I'm not too concerned about it quite yet. So I'm choosing to focus on the positives, the science that we can conduct to learn more about future lunar expansion and colonization, but also an experiment that everybody with the proper tools and luck can conduct as well. If any of you have a telescope, please go out there that night as well. If you're so inclined, try to capture it. I want someone in this community to get a glimpse of this incredible event. The first shots fired of interplanetary, interbody warfare in the solar system. Of course, that's an aggrandized version of what's going to happen, but I want to record this event and have it to show any flat earthers who come after me and show, hey, this I recorded myself in my backyard of a human-made impact on the moon. I am 100% going to try to be out there. I need to put it on my calendar. I haven't done so yet because I just realized while prepping for the stream that I might be able to catch it. I'm going to have to tune my camera properly. I'm going to have everything ready to go ahead of time and just be recording constantly. That's going to be the hardest part of it, is hoping my settings are right, because the human eye will not be able to see it. But if I have the contrast and the brightening right, I might just be able to catch this impact, and I'm so excited about that. So yes, if any of you guys have telescopes and want to try, please try, because we could do this all together, and that'll be incredible. Algrim the Strong has become a member on the YouTube side at the Pioneers level. Hell yes, Algrim the Strong. Thank you for joining, and I hope you enjoy the content. There's a lot of membership perks available to you, especially a free included audiobook of The Brighton Pacification, the short story, now available on my website, Endless Frontier Books. So you have access to the audiobook version of that as a member on the YouTube side. I appreciate that, Algrim the Strong. Hell yeah. Welcome to the Pioneers. Dash says, it happened a few years ago with the Chinese rocket too. I think I remember that, but that one, like I was mentioning, it wasn't visible in such a way that we could study the plumes like we are this time, and definitely wouldn't be able to catch it with the with amateur telescopes and stuff like that. But yeah, how big was that? Let me see. Let me look that up. Chinese rocket struck by lightning. That was really cool. Crash into the moon. Let me see. Chinese rocket crashes into the moon. This was back in 2023 with a mystery object in tow. A Chinese rocket booster slammed into the far side of the moon. Yeah, it was the far side of the moon and left 2 craters. Yeah, it wasn't visible, so that's why a lot of people didn't talk about it, because it wasn't visible on the Earth side of the moon. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It has happened. And I recognize that my incredulity of the likelihood of this happening isn't necessarily accurate, because it's happened before and they were both headed to the moon. So, they were probably close enough that they could be captured by the orbit. Just in my mind, space is so vast that it's hard to imagine something like that happening twice. Dash, Elon is so rich, he's giving away free creators now. He's giving away free creators. Once again, thank you, Algrim the Strong, for joining at the Pioneers level. Gotta catch the Dasher. Gotta catch up. Dr. Rachel, I've got a telescope, but I think my husband will be using it to watch this event. Hell yeah, he sounds like a wise man using that telescope. Hopefully you'll be able to assist him with that. You might enjoy it as well. Dash, if you can't see it, it didn't happen. That is the way it is for a lot of people. Absolutely the way it is. All right, I'm refreshing the like counter. Let me just mute that. All right, we're still at 8 likes. So it doesn't look like we got any more, but thank you to all the people who did like it. Someday we'll have enough people watching that we might be able to pull the Dermy Griffs and get all the way up to 300 likes in a stream like you did the 2 chatter days ago. That was really impressive when you pulled that off. But thank you all for liking. Algrim said, maybe something can crash into filthy Delphia. Now, Rachel would be all right with that. Hell yes. Philadelphia is filthy, at least in my opinion. God, it's the only city that I've ever been to where I felt afraid for my life everywhere I went. And that was when I was a kid. That was not something that as an adult I was an idiot 10-year-old who didn't know what was safe and what wasn't safe. I still didn't feel safe there. I really didn't. But yeah, that's the last topic for today. So we're going to be getting into the chat, choose your own adventure segment of this stream, unless anyone has a strong reason against. Like, if you guys aren't feeling it, we don't have to do it, obviously. I am more than in the mindset, so I'm happy to do it. But if you guys aren't in the mindset, then that does make things difficult for motivation. So think about it. We'll absolutely do it. I am thinking about something else as well. Would you guys like a short, it'd be like 30 seconds, maybe a minute, intro for the chat, choose your own adventure segment of the stream? Like something to hype you up, to transition you into it. Right now I'm using the plotter ad as that function, but maybe I could get something that's you know, the way Roundtable does it, where there's a bunch of funny clips from the Chat Choose Your Own Adventure segments all put together to funny music as the intro to that section. So would you guys want a section trailer or a section intro? I've been playing around with that idea. Otherwise, we can keep using the plotter ad. So whatever you guys think, I want to get your opinions. Dash, the city of brotherly love. Brotherly something. Algrim, you hate the Eagles, Cowboys fan, so you're all on board. Dash says the highlight reel would be great. I'll have to go through all the old Chat Choose Your Own Adventure segments and see if there are any good ones in there. That's going to take a lot of work. But yeah, making a little highlight reel like you're saying and ending with, you know, a title card, I think it would be good. I think it would be a good idea. I'd have to figure out a different place to put the plotter ad. I could just put that in the news segment whenever I'm feeling like I need a drink of water or something. That won't be a problem whatsoever. Dr. Rachel, I never thought I would hate an airport more than O'Hare, and then I got stuck in Philly. Yeah, your experience in Philly was untold levels of horrific. That was not fun what you had to go through. I felt so bad that I wasn't there with you to be able to go. But let me get this music ready for the Chat Choose Your Own Adventure. And let's see. Seems like people are all on board with Chat Choose Your Own Adventure, or at least not saying anything. Probably heard that fall. My apologies. So let's dive into it right after a quick word from the sponsor of today's stream, Plotter. This video is sponsored by Plotter. Every writer knows the drill. Staring at a blank page, characters ghosting you mid-plot, timelines unraveling like a bad sweater. That endless loop of what happens next, sucking the joy out of your story. I lived it. Outlines and chaos, competing storylines driving me mad. For the longest time, my notes were thick, blocked-out paragraphs, and my outlines were never-ending bullet points that stretched for more pages than my first drafts. Then I found Plotter, my plotting lifeline. Visual timelines that snap into place, drag-and-drop scenes to tame the wildest arcs, character sheets that keep everyone on track. It turned my latest novel, a 200,000-word juggernaut with multiple character perspectives and solar systems worth of lore, into an easy-to-understand, trackable project, complete with the series Bible, multi-track storylines, and lore documents that make world-building a breeze. And check out their latest feature, a seamless note-taking system for all those story and character ideas that don't have a home yet. Available for free to all users of the Plotter app. For pro users, your notes and files will automatically sync across devices with cloud storage. If you're tired of the plot purgatory, use my link or scan the QR code to get Plotter for life with a single payment of $150. Your epic won't write itself, but with Plotter it'll flow like never before. Link in the description. Let Plotter help you conquer your stories. Welcome to the Chat Choose Your Own Adventure segment of this stream, where you, the chat, with the combination of dice rolls and super chats, help me craft a wild, wild story. We draft out, and you do not need to see that. My bad entirely. Holy hell, I am out of it right now. All right, you guys can hear the music now. We're back on track. But were you, the chat, with the combination of super chats and dice rolls, help me craft the outline to a quick story. And if we get to the $100 chat super chat threshold for this stream, I will schedule a separate stream called the Story Forge, where I will actually write out this short story. It's always weird, it's always wacky, it's always wild, and it's always a hell of a lot of fun. So let's dive into it. As always, we have genre, lead character, settings, theme and style, and wild card as our sections for today. Let's dive in with picking the genre. Our options are science fiction, fantasy, mystery, thriller, horror, romance, parody, and chat choice. I'm going to roll the dice to see what is chosen, but if you want to override any dice roll throughout this process, $1 super chat or higher can override any dice roll to become whatever you want. You are never restricted by the options I have here on stream. And later on, once we're into the actual drafting of the outline, high super chat starting at $5 can introduce a twist at any time, which can be anything you can come up with. if I'm nearly done with the story and you decide, hey, add in a dog girl, I'm gonna have to figure out what the hell that is and introduce it into the story in a way that makes sense, because that's always the goal, is for me to fight through the wild suggestions I get to make a semi-cohesive story out of it. But first, let's roll the dice on the genre. 3. All right, mystery, thriller, or horror. It's been a while since we got one of these. Dr. Rachel says, yes, let's choose a twisted adventure. It's always a twisted one, that's for damn sure. And Dash says, let's go rigged dice. We're starting out good. We haven't had a mystery, thriller, horror in a while, so not too rigged this time. Now let's pick the lead character. Our options are father, billionaire, filmmaker, hero, monster hunter, or chat choice. As always, the chat choice is the free space where you, the chat, can make suggestions of what you want it to be without using a super chat, and I'll try to glean some consensus from all of you and use that. We have a 4, so it is a hero. We have a mystery, thriller, horror with a lead character who is a hero. Let's see if that sticks, or if any super chats come in to override that. Next, we have setting. Our options are present day, past, future, non-human world, alternate universe, or chat choice. Let's see what the dice have for us. And we have another 4. That's the rigged one. It's always giving us 4s, but it's a non-human world. Okay, interesting. An interesting combination. For theme or style, we have passing the torch, exploration, grief, catharsis, acceptance, and chat choice. Let's see what the dice has for us. I'm pulling a mulligan. All right, it's a 2. Exploration. All right, a theme of exploration. I don't think we've ever used that one. It's been there the whole time, I think. All right, for wild card, our final option, unless anybody has some super chats to override these, we have nuke, bunny ears, fridge, nails, narwhal, and chat choice. 6. All right, chat choice. So as a free space, you, the chat, can suggest anything for the wild card. This can literally be whatever you want. It's a wild card, so it's supposed to be a completely random thing to introduce to it. While you guys think about that and decide if you want to override any of these dice rolls, I'm going to copy them over so we can view them all separately and well. The dice never fail. They usually fail. Not a fan of catharsis. No. I'm fine with catharsis. I didn't like 3 4s in a row. I don't know what it is about these dice. They love the number 4. It's always the number frickin' 4. But no, catharsis will be an interesting one. I do think catharsis is overused in storytelling and acting like you have to achieve catharsis to be a good person. I think there are times when catharsis is not a good idea, but it's still a very interesting theme or style to explore. But let's go over this again. Nope, that's a chat choice. That's why I didn't copy it over. So for genre, we have mystery, thriller, horror. We have hero for the lead character. For the setting, it's going to be a non-human world. For theme or style, we have exploration. And for the wild card, we have chat choice. So you guys will have to drop some suggestions for what you think a good wild card item will be. Ginger Norseman, fair enough, LOL. I could have done with more 4s playing 40k on the weekend. Are you into 40k? I've never gotten into it. Either the painting aspect of it, the model aspect of it, or the books, or the games. I've never gotten into it. I would be interested to see where 40k would make sense for me. So it's cool that you're into that, man. Dash, uncontrolled rocket spacecraft for wildcard. That'll be an interesting one. It'll be hard for mystery, thriller, horror, but we could absolutely do that. Anybody like that option or want to suggest an alternate? Let's see what you guys are thinking. And Algrim the Strong with a $20 super chat saying, here's to sending Nolan to the moon or Philadelphia. All right. So we're going to add in Nolan getting to Philadelphia or the moon. Which one would we prefer? It's totally up to you, Algrim, but I feel like the moon could be too much of a reward for him. Philadelphia feels worse, but moon's also very dangerous, so let's see. And the main character's got to be hero. Dr. Rachel, a statue of Nolan for the wild card and do whatever you want with it. Ooh, that's a good one. All right, so a statue of Nolan as a wild card. All right, mystery, thriller, horror. I guess the moon is technically a non-human world. And if we make it like the first moon base, it could be exploration. Because what I'm thinking is, just with the suggestions that you guys have dropped there, what if we had the very first moon base has been constructed? It's very new. The first people are living there. It doesn't make sense to do this, but we'll suspend our disbelief for this and say that they've decided to erect statues for the most important people in human society in different fields, like the most important politician, the most important scientist in a particular field, the most important author, and the most important filmmaker. A bunch of statues like that on the moon as a way to celebrate Earth culture on this step of exploration, which I don't actually think is a terrible idea once we, have a real moon base. But they're making a statue of Nolan, and he goes up there for the unveiling of the statue, but a hero comes and locks down the base, and it's a horror story about how this hero is trying to get in and destroy the statue because Nolan doesn't deserve to be put up as the best filmmaker in human society, in human history. How do we feel about that? That incorporates Philly is basically a non-human world, but that incorporates it would have to be the statue for the wild card. It incorporates exploration well enough, I think. Not really a theme, but it fits. And Algrim Super Chat can override any of these as a result, so the exploration can be part of the byproduct of his Super Chat. Non-human world, the moon's close enough, and we're going to be portraying this guy as a hero for destroying the statue, and the mystery, thriller, horror aspect of it will be this guy, breaking into the base and stuff like that. Dash, Nolan's statue destroyed to atone for his greatness. Wouldn't that be that's a great ending, Dash. What if the hero manages to destroy it and Nolan just goes, "You're right. I have to apologize for my greatness. So thank you for taking me down a peg, because there should be no statues here at all." And the hero's just like, "God damn it, you're supposed to be mad." I think that would be kind of funny if he goes pseudo-intellectual and like, "This is what should have always happened. Thank you." Dr. Rachel, I like this story idea, but it needs more horror. Maybe the Nolan statue comes to life and the hero has to destroy it. I was thinking more of the horror aspect of it as Nolan would be the POV character, and I just make a bunch of pretentious jokes, and the hero is hacking into the station, locking it down, and trying to do this all to sneak in. So there would still be a horror aspect of it. And he's going to destroy it in the end. Algrim, I think Dr. Rachel should destroy the statue in Philadelphia. Should the statue get launched, the explosive device doesn't destroy the statue, it just launches it off the surface and it crashes into Philadelphia. And it lands at the feet of the Rocky statue. So the Rocky statue is just like, "Yeah, I'm a better filmmaker than you." It's such a terrible story. But I kind of like it. What do we think? The Nolan statue falling from space at the foot of the Rocky statue? Legatus, the Nolan statue reacts like the Baal horse fighting firefighter. Oh my god, that would be scary. Dr. Rachel, the Nolan statue decides it should be the only statue and tries to get rid of everyone else. That would be interesting. The fucking Rocky statue. And that incorporates, hey, Algrim, with that idea, I get both of your suggestions. I get Nolan on the moon, but I also get Nolan in Philadelphia. I get both sides of it. See? Big brain. I got him. I got them both. I got them both to work. That only activates on Friday the 13th with its chainsaw. Oh, God. Oh, God. All right, how are we feeling about that story? We can have the horror sequence with it coming to life. Let's say there's a fail-safe built into it, and it is animatronic on purpose to defend itself, and all the statues come to life, and the hero has to fight all these statues, and in the end he manages to launch it into space to destroy it, and it lands in Philadelphia. Let me see. Dash. Nolan's statue is sent into a black hole, and through the magic of tesseracts, causes Nolan to witness all the greatness of Greek history. Algorithm. Maybe Rocky should destroy the statue in Philadelphia. Big left hook. That would be a funny thing. That would be pretty funny. Alright, I'm going to put Nolan's statue here. With your super chat incorporating it, I'm just going to have it like ego be the theme, non-human worlds good enough, horror. So yeah, Moonbase unveiling statues of the greatest people in each individual field in human history. Nolan's being represented as the best filmmaker ever. He's up there for the unveiling. A hero shows up to destroy the statue while he's there, and it becomes a horror. It becomes a horror story as Nolan is trying to get to a statue to defend it. Once he gets there, he meets the hero, and there's a failsafe in the statues to defend themselves. So the statues come to life, and the hero has to fight all these statues. And Nolan's is the big boss. He has to fight it, but in the fight, he manages to launch it into space. And in the epilogue, we find out that it crashes down in Philadelphia at the foot of the Philadelphia statue, and Nolan somehow tries to make the victory about him and say, "Thank you for helping me apologize for my greatness." Jed's choice. All right, Algrim seems on board. Everybody else like the idea of that story? I think it's a good one. I think it's a really good one. I'm going to have to figure out a good way to clip out all the best moments of Chat Choose Your Adventure for that scissor reel. Dash does a great job about it, so I can just go through Discord for a lot of the past ones. But I'm going to have to write down some stuff for that as well in future. Dash, you're on board with that story? All right. Let's see what we can come up with for that. Hero should show up hidden inside another statue. That's not a bad idea. That would be kind of funny. He sneaks on board, Trojan horse style. That's a great idea. Let me see. They bring up a horse for Nolan to ride into the ceremony on. And this guy's hidden in the horse. All right, we're going to go with that, even though it makes no sense. All right, Moonbase. Field of statues on the moon outside the new moon base. The best doctors, philosophers inside a brazen bull. Let's see, what are some good categories? Writers, poets, politicians are built. I didn't even spell poets correctly. Could be a statue of the Secretariat as the best racehorse. Oh, I like it. We're gonna go with that, Dash. That's perfect. That is perfect. Are built to signify the best of humanity. Nolan stares at the plaque of an empty pedestal. Wow. With his name on it. Best filmmaker. Smirks. Finally, the recognition he deserves as the greatest of all time. Crane setting up a statue of Secretariat. I actually love that. We're gonna go with that. Of Secretariat as the best racehorse. Animals represented as well. No ceremony for them, though. Nolan likes a horse being added the same day as his statue. It's like poetry. It rhymes. Wow. Rhyme. Why can't I... there's an H there, yeah. That's what it is. That's close enough. There we go. It rhymes. He says. He's gonna actually say it. There should be a Harambe statue. Yes, there should absolutely be a Harambe statue as well. Like Harambe, and let's have one other example. Is there any real famous dog? Old Yeller. I'm just gonna say it's Old Yeller too. All right, Sarah. I'm just gonna say director. Nolan meets with Moonbase director. Glazed as greatest ever. Loves that he's here. Dr. Rachel with another $20 super chat says, a little something to support this channel, and if it gets to $100, I will happily draw the destruction of the Nolan statue. Maybe I'll even make a paper mache statue to destroy. Well, hell yes. Dr. Rachel wants to make that art, chat. So yes, as a reminder, if the super chat goal of this stream gets to $100 of revenue, I will schedule a second stream where I will write out this short story. This is actually a great week to do it because there will be no Saturday night drive-in this week, as Adam is taking the weekend off to move. So we have a time slot for it, and Dr. Rachel is on board. We are at roughly $45, so we're almost halfway to that $100 mark. So if you want to see the story come to life, if you want to see Rachel's artwork of the Nolan statue mid-destruction, drop another $55 and we can make all of this a reality. Dash says James Gunn would somehow make this Crypto the dog since Nolan beat him out of the director statue. He probably would. What's with the oranges today, Dash? I'm not Badger. I'm not Badger. I don't do the oranges. I know what oranges are for. So, can we drop some blessings in the chat for both Algrim and Dr. Rachel for dropping those $20 super chats? Blessings and thanks for the super chats. Let's check the likes as well. What are we looking at for the likes? Have we broken 10 likes on this stream? We're still at 8, so 2 away from 10 likes. Let's see if we can get there, folks. All right, Nolan meets with the Moonbase director. Glazed as the best ever. Loves that he's here. Basks in the love. I need another E there. Ceremony starting soon. Do you guys like the blessings and the smitings? I think it's kind of cool. I think it fits with the Ginger Jesus motif. I get some interactability with the chat. I hope you guys enjoy it. I think it's funny. We got to come up with a good name. Yeah, you guys haven't come up with a chat name like how the Renaissance Nerds chat, they're called the Gatekeepers. The Geeks and Gamers audience is called the 199. We got to get a good name for you guys as well. The Disciples? That's way too far Ginger Jesus-wise. I like the Pioneers. That's why I have that as the name of the first tier. As in Space Pioneers, the pioneers who progress the frontiers of science and fiction. So maybe the Pioneers. This has to be your guys' decision, though. I can't pick a name for all of you guys. We're like the Bearded Society for Free of the Beardo. So yeah, think about if you guys want a name for yourselves as well. And I'll start referring to that as well. All right, scene, ceremony. So yeah, what I'm planning right now is we're going to have the ceremony where it's first interrupted. The guy's going to break out of the horse and freak everyone out. Let me see. No, we don't want that. Fields of statues. The best doctors. Nolan stares from the safety of a dome. Let's have this be cart unloading a statue of Secretariat. Hope I spelled that right. I did not. In the loading bay near Nolan. No, that's fine. That's good enough. It just didn't make sense for the guy to be out there. The Redeemed. Call you guys the Redeemed. Welcome to all my Redeemed in the chat. That would be funny. Smite the statue. Yeah, drop some smitings in the chat for the statue as well. We're gonna take it down. Or save those. We'll get there eventually. So yeah, what I'm planning on is the ceremony. Secretariat's gonna be added in later, so it's still waiting in the loading bay. So I'm gonna have the ceremony. Lights in the moon base are gonna go out, and alarms are gonna go off, so everyone rushes back to the moon base before the ceremony can be complete. Oh, the plotters. That's a really good one, Dash. That is a really good one. And then chapter 2 is gonna be very horror based, just surviving inside the moon base, figuring out what the hell's going on. And then chapter 3 will be getting back out to the surface, meeting the hero, and having the statue fight, ending with Nolan being like, "Thank you for helping me apologize for my greatness." And then chapter 4 will be the epilogue of it showing up in Philadelphia. I think that's a good path. But no, Plotters is really good. I'd have to tell the Plotter team that you guys name yourself that if that is what you guys go for. Smite the statue. So what I'm going to do, chat, since you guys have suggested a few things, please keep suggesting good names for all of you. I'm going to drop it in a poll for the whole channel later on and have you guys vote on it. So keep an eye out for that poll. I'll have it ready to go probably right as the stream goes down. But right now we have 2 suggestions for chat names. So yeah, keep dropping good suggestions. I really like the Plotters, the Pioneers, and the Redeemed. We don't need to do the Pioneers, though. That's just what I call the membership deal. So, yeah, you guys think about that. Ceremony. Everyone out on the surface in EMU suits. Statue getting lowered into place. Nolan pretending to be humble with the many speeches of his greatness. Horse statue will be added later. likes that because he was great before the horse. Trojan. There we go. Should be the colonizers? Oh, damn. The colonizers. That definitely fits with the Endless Frontier, the space themed. I am very pro space colonization. I colonize a lot in my books, and I think it's insane that we have such a negative connotation of the colonizing. So that would be us reclaiming the word, and it would piss off a lot of people who feel that way. I like the colonizers. I think it should be in the mix. It should absolutely be in the mix. It's terrible, and I love it for that reason. Let me, I'm going to get the poll up and ready. If we have more than 4 suggestions, I'll put them in a poll for the chat here, and you guys can narrow it down to 4. And then I'll put the text poll out for just those 4 options out to the entire YouTube channel. So keep suggesting things, chat. Some great suggestions so far. All right. And once again, as a reminder, we are $45 to the $100 tier to make StoryForge a thing. So if you are enjoying the story and want to see a book version of it, which will be available later for all YouTube members, and a piece of artwork also available for members later, we'll get to that $100 tier, and we'll do the StoryForge stream so you can all see that process underway and make this story a reality. The redeemed. The redeemed. All right, here we go. Lights in moon base shut off. Alarms blare in suits. Hurry back in horror. Power is out. Find open compartment in horse. Someone snuck up here in it. Sabotage. There we go. Chapter 1. All right, chapter 2. Let's see. I'm gonna refresh stream elements and stream labs just to make sure I'm not losing anyone's suggestions. Nope, perfect. All right, now chapter 2. This is the horror one. Air running out. Life support is offline. Nolan hyperventilating. Has no real world skills. Doesn't like non-film technology. So he's lost. Just sits there quietly confused. Hyperventilating doesn't make sense with that. Just quietly confused. Watching everything around him. Everyone fawns over him, making sure he's okay. Director reports air in moon base will run out within a day. We'll just say a day. The Frontiersman, that's a really good one as well. Dash, absolutely, that's a great one. All right, with that, we have More than 4. So yeah, after we get through the chat choose your own adventure segment, I'll narrow that down with some polls in the chat for you guys. We'll just get it down to 4, I think, and see what we can do with that. All right, director reports, air is running out. Need to get to the control room. Air ducts, because what's a horror action story without air ducts? Sneaking through air ducts. Nolan unwilling to be left behind. Others think he's being heroic. Really just is too scared to not be active. Get to the control room. Console busted. Definitely sabotage. Console busted and techs unconscious. Why would anyone do this? Have to rewire the console inputs to get control back. Nolan realizes it's about him. Ego is stroked. Some amateur critic who isn't educated enough to realize how smart. This is bold-faced, obvious messaging. How amazing and smart Nolan is, must be here to destroy his statue in protest of Nolan's award. Nolan says as much, mocking the low IQ public. Everyone immediately agrees with him. Just because he guessed it right doesn't make him right. All right, rush. Get control back. Check cameras. Hero is about to destroy Nolan's statue. Horror. Rush back and out onto the surface. Hero makes an articulate speech about how Nolan is overrated and his scripts are shallow. Doesn't deserve an award for the greatest ever. Can't stop him. All right. We'll have this one be the we'll have initial fight, statue fight, Nolan fight, and then the last section will be repercussions and then epilogue. Okay, here we go. Fail safe. As hero begins swing of sledgehammer, he sees movement. The statues are all robots designed to defend themselves. This is so dumb, but I love it. Themselves. Attack hero. Problem is the AI is dumb, so everyone is attacked. Fighting off Lincoln, Mother Teresa. Let's see, who are some good ones? Plato, Hippocrates. I got close. Hippocrates. Who's another good one? Charles Dickens and other goats of history. Fighting them off. Hero is sad when smashing Harambe. Especially. Not Harambe again! After the Nolan, after the other statues are defeated, the Nolan statue. No, justice for Harambe. The Nolan statue moves like it's the final boss. Pompous and overconfident. Nolan smiles, certain his effigy. I did not spell effigy right. Is it with an F? I think it might be an actual F. Oh, it is an F. Effigy can defeat this sad man with a single blow. With a single upward blow, the hero knocks. This is not possible. Nolan's statue into orbit with the sledgehammer. Everyone stares in shock as it floats away. Apologize. To reclaim the moment and the high ground, Nolan thanks the hero, allowed him to apologize for his greatness, served society well. There should be no heroes. Wow. There we go. The Crimson Vanguard, or the Red Guard, stolen from Skyrim. Red Guard's a great one. Let me see. Hero annoyed, but expected behavior like this from Nolan. No one won in the end. Except Rocky, because Rocky always wins. Nolan's statue crashes down in Philly at the feet of the Rocky statue. A better film and filmmaker than Nolan. I don't actually believe that, but it's funny. And there we have it. That is the story. I don't need to do that. The story of this week's Chat Choose Your Own Adventure. We have a story of Christopher Nolan. Sometime in the future, when the moon base has been established, they make a statue garden of the greatest people of all time in their individual fields, like Lincoln, like Plato, like Herodotus, and even animals like Harambe and Secretariat are depicted here. Nolan is being heralded as the greatest filmmaker of all time, so he's on the moon for the unveiling of his statue. Unfortunately, there is a hero who has snuck aboard the moon base in the statue of Secretariat the horse. This hero is able to distract everyone long enough to go and get on the surface, prepare to destroy the Nolan statue before it can be unveiled. Through a couple issues, everyone else manages to go see the statue garden in time for the destruction. Unfortunately, there is a failsafe. The statues are all robots, and they come to life and try to kill this guy. They're shit robots, though, so they're all destroyed, and this hero is able to effortlessly launch this statue into orbit, finally erasing Nolan as the greatest of all time. Nolan, of course, takes credit for it, says, "Thank you. I apologize for my greatness. Aren't I so special and humble and amazing?" And this statue crashes down at the feet of the Rocky statue in Philadelphia, being a beautiful image, if not a sensible one. But it's a fun little story, and I enjoyed making it. How do we feel about that? Any changes that you guys want to make? The Nolan-ators? Oh God, Alcrum. Until he sues us. Yeah, let's maybe not do that one. The smitings be upon Nolan. Yes, drop some smitings in the chat for that Nolan statue that fell from orbit. It sounds like you guys are happy with that story, so let's call it there for this week's Chat Choose Your Own Adventure. You love it, Ginger Norseman? Hell yes. So yeah, if anybody out there wants to see the story come to life, we are $55 away from the Story Forge episode where we will write it out, and Dr. Rachel will make some exclusive artwork for it, maybe even a paper mache of it just to destroy on camera. I think it would be a funny thing to do. But let's see. I'm going to make that poll that I mentioned earlier and see what you guys think, because there is quite a few great suggestions here. I don't want to miss any of them, so I'm going to write them down actually real quick. All right. We have the Redeemers. We have the Plotters. We have the Colonizers. The Frontiersmen. That's a great one, too. The Red Guard. And we'll add in this one just to see what you guys think of it. Okay, the Nolanators. I love it, but I don't think we'll be able to use that one. Damn you, Nolan. Damn you, Nolan. All right. Red Raiders, a little bit more aggressive than Red Guard. We can add in Red Raiders. We're gonna have to do a couple quick polls. Red Raiders, and you guys are my regulars anyway. Pretty much all my major regulars are here. So to have you guys be the ones responsible for narrowing it down, I think is a very good thing. All right, so we're gonna have what should the chat name be? We're gonna narrow this down. Let's see, how many is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, we have 7 options right now. We'll do 2 polls. All right, I'm starting a poll, and once we have, let's see, how many people are here? We'll say, just to make it easy, we'll say 5 votes. Once we have 5 votes, we'll end it and then do the other ones. I just need 4 options, so we are going to have to eliminate 3. All right, we have a vote for the Redeemers. The Redeemers going to carry on into the next round of voting. See if we can get any more votes up in here. We got some votes for the Plotters, the Frontiersmen. If we get a perfect tie, it's the Redeemed. Oh, it's the Redeemed. My bad. My bad. Yes, it is the Redeemed. I've written that down. My bad. So yeah, chat. It's the Redeemed, not the Redeemers. See, that is the Redeemed is getting ahead. It's got the lead right now, and the Colonizers has no votes yet. That's my personal favorite one. But I won't vary too much. Oh, you're rewriting it. All good, brother. All right. And yeah, if anybody on the kick side is watching and wants to vote, just drop your vote in the chat and I'll include your votes for it. So don't feel like you're being left out, kickers over there. I'm paying attention to you guys as well. Let's see, we're at 4 votes right now. At this point, colonizers will not be moving into the next round. Colonizers going to be left on the wayside. I love colonizers. Rachel didn't even vote for colonizers, it looks like. I guess she didn't like her own idea enough. Yeah, end that off. All right. Let's check in with the likes that we have right now. Have we gotten 10 likes yet on the stream? We're at 9 likes. We are 1 away. So if you haven't liked the stream yet, please give it a like. We'll get all the way to 10 likes if you're able to do that. So I would greatly appreciate getting us over that hump for us. All right, I'm thinking those are what people are wanting. Let me copy and paste that as well. What should the chat name be? Perfect. I love my own idea, but I knew it wouldn't win. Did you not vote for it either, Rachel? I lost the vote screen. It should have popped up to the top of your chat window, I think. But yeah, currently we have a tie between the Redeemed and the Frontiersmen. The Plotters and the Colonizers are both at the bottom with 1 vote and 0 votes respectively. Those are my 2 favorite ones. So that's why it's important that you guys pick these names. So I think that should be enough for right now. Colonizers and Colonizers is definitely not moving forward to the next round. All right, what are the next ones going to be? We're just going to do this, or we're trying to do this real quick. All right, what is it going to be? The Red Guard, the Pioneers, and the Red Raiders. Let's see. If we kick that one out, we're going to have 3. I'm going to add in the Plotters to this one because it was on the bottom, so we'll see if it gets kicked out again. All right, dropping a second poll, everyone out there. Let's see what you guys want for the Red Guard, the Pioneers, the Red Raiders, and the Plotters. We kicked out the colonizers, so currently we have 6. So we need to lose 2 more. Most likely going to be the Plotters. I just wanted to give Plotters a second chance just in case. Right now we have 2 votes for the Pioneers. The Redeemed honors your nickname, however. Funny that I attached it to you as a whim. It does. It does fit with Ginger Jesus. It doesn't necessarily fit with the theme of the channel, the endless frontiers of science and fiction, but it is relevant for the Ginger Jesus stuff and the blessings and the smitings. We do the blessings and we do the smiting, so the redeemed does make sense with that. The Red Guard got a vote. The Plotters got a vote. The Pioneers is taking it away. All right, Pioneers is doing really good, but Red Raiders has gotten no votes so far, so that one will probably be disqualified. Right now, it just looks like the Plotters or the Red Guard needs to get the edge, and that will solidify our final 4 options. No. I still like it. I still like it, Algrim. Absolutely. Because it fits with the smiting and the blessing. So I think it's absolutely relevant for the chat. All right. Yep. The Redeemed, the Frontiersmen, the Pioneers will definitely be moving forward. And the Red Guard pulled into the lead. So our options going forward will be, yep, Plotters lost again. So our options will be the Redeemed, the Frontiersmen, the Pioneers, and the Red Guards. Isn't Dr. Rachel, isn't Pioneers one of your tiers? If Pioneer gets it, you may need to rename that tier. That actually fits well, Rachel, because it's, the members. They're the chat. So that's what a lot of people do, is they name their membership tiers the same thing as what their chat is. Like the Bearded Society is what Bearded is, I think. And Dermy calls his chat the Nightcrawlers. That's what his tier is. So that's actually a very common combination of things. Red Dead Redeemer, the Crimson Count of Culture. Hell yes. So yes, the ones that I'm going to be putting out in the poll are the Redeemed, the Frontiersmen, the Pioneers, and the Red Guard. Let me see. I'm going to type out this a little bit real quick. So, on this week's Right or Flight, the chat posed these options as the name for the Endless Frontiers chat. What would you like this audience to be called? Dash, I thought Dermy should have been the night worms instead of crawlers. That would have been good. I like that, especially with the different spelling of it, the night worms. All right, I'm creating this post real quick. On this week's Right or Flight, the chat posed these options as the name for the Endless Frontiers chat. What would you like this for the Endless Frontiers audience? We'll change that. Audience. I think that just makes a little bit more sense. What would you like this audience to be called? The Redeemed, the Frontiersmen, the Pioneers, or the Red Guard. So that post is now live in the post section of this channel over on the YouTube side. If you guys would please go over there and vote officially. We'll get the other votes from the video watchers and stuff like that in there as well, and see what it all looks like in the end, because I think it's about damn time that I have a name for my audience to make it easier to refer to all of you. So please drop some blessings in the chat as well, that we get a good turnout for that poll and get a good name. I do think all 4 of those are great options though. Dr. Rachel definitely should have been Night Worms. Yes, Night Worms I think just makes sense. I don't know his justifications, because he actually named his chat that himself, I believe. So, should the Frontiersmen be plural? Oh, did I not plural it? Yes, it should be. Shit. I'm going to delete that. Thank you, Dash. You're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Let me get that in there real quick. So, the Redeemed, the Frontiers Men. What was the other one? The Pioneers and the Red Guard. There we go. The Red Guard. Are all those plural now? I think they should all be plural. Let me just double check. The Redeemed, the Red Guard. Yes. All right. New poll is live. Thank you for pointing that out before any votes came in. Dash. Algrim, remember the horror movie Squirm from the 1970s? God, that disturbed me as a young boy. Man eating worms? No, I have not seen that. And then from your description, I'm rather grateful that I haven't. Yes, thank you for the blessings in chat. However, that does bring us to the end of this stream. Thank you all so much for watching today, being so active in the chat. The Redeemed, the Pioneers, the Frontiersmen, or the Red Guard. Whatever you fine people are out there, you are an incredible audience, and I appreciate you hanging out with me this evening. And it's been a hell of a ride. I can't wait for Rider Flight next week. But that brings us to the end of this stream. Upcoming, we have, I'm going to try to stream Mass Effect sometime this week when I get a chance to just finish it off. That'll most likely be Thursday night. I believe it could be Wednesday night as well earlier on because I am working from home all week due to some training that I'm going through. So I can do it on different nights where I'm not usually teleworking. That's why Monday and Thursday are my main streaming days because I telework regularly on those days. But now I'm teleworking all week, so I have a lot more flexibility. Besides that, there will be no Saturday night drive-in this week because Adam is moving. No roundtable either, so I'll try to figure out something else to do there. Maybe spend the time making a video, maybe do a different stream, maybe a gaming stream. We'll see what we're feeling. I might put it out to you fine people out there for some suggestions, see what's going on. The tryhards, I do not know what's happening with the tryhards this week with Adam being unavailable. It might just be me and Dermy. It might be me and Dermy and the guests. It might be canceled. I really don't know what Dermy's planning. So stay tuned to Dermy Wormy's channel to find out what's going on with tryhards. Then, of course, next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, Rider Flight returns with another Chat Choose Your Own Adventure, most likely, and we get to do all of this over again. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to Dashed, Ginger Norseman, and Legatus for chatting so regularly, and special thanks to Algrim the Strong and Dr. Rachel for their super chats. It's greatly appreciated. Yes, all of you fine people, Algrim, Dash, Dr. Rachel, Ginger Norseman, Legatus, you are a great audience. Whatever we end up calling you guys, but you guys are an incredible audience, and I'm so grateful to have all of you. But that's all that I have for today. If you enjoyed this stream, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. The more support this channel gets, the closer we are to publishing the Endless Frontier novels. Until then, have a stellar day and stay curious.